Have you ever wondered when fear turned into faith? Imagine a world where every storm was an angry spirit, every rustle in the dark a whisper from the unknown. For the first humans, life was an endless conversation with forces they could not see but deeply felt. The lightning that split the sky, the roar of a predator, even the silence before dawn, all were signs of something greater, mysterious, and powerful. It was in these moments of awe and terror that the seed of faith was planted. Early, humans didn't have temples or scriptures. Their sacred spaces were caves lit by flickering fire, their prayers expressed through instinctive gestures of fear and gratitude. When thunder rolled across the sky, they might have seen it as a spirit's warning. When the hunt was successful, they could have offered a piece of meat to invisible guardians. The line between survival and spirituality was thin, perhaps non-existent. Each breath, each heartbeat was a reminder of the fragile thread connecting them to nature and whatever forces governed it. Archaeologists believe that this early form of spirituality emerged not from curiosity but necessity. Life was brutal, uncertain, and short. To survive, early humans needed to find meaning in chaos. Belief offered comfort, a way to understand death, danger, and the unpredictable moods of nature. It gave them a sense of protection, even if only imagined. And this belief, in turn, shaped how they lived, hunted, and cared for one another. But what if these first humans didn't just imagine spirits? What if, in their eyes, the world truly was alive, with energy pulsing through every tree, river, and star? Whether or not their spirits were real, faith became a survival tool, an invisible weapon against fear. It bound groups together, giving them purpose and identity. From that moment on, humanity would never again be alone in the dark. Before we continue exploring how these primal beliefs evolved into rituals and symbols, take a moment to reflect. Can you imagine standing under that ancient sky, feeling the same mix of fear and wonder? If this topic fascinated you, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. How do you think the first humans explained the invisible? As time moved on, the bond between early humans and the invisible world grew stronger. Curiosity turned into ritual, and ritual became tradition. But how did this transformation begin? It likely started with observation. Our ancestors noticed patterns, the sun rising after every night, the moon waxing and waning, the seasons repeating their eternal rhythm. These cycles hinted at a greater order, a will behind the chaos. The first humans may have believed that by honoring this hidden order, they could ensure safety, prosperity, and protection from hostile forces. Archaeologists have uncovered remarkable clues of this awakening. In ancient burial sites, bones are arranged with care, and red ochre stains suggest symbolic meaning, perhaps an attempt to bless the dead for their journey to another realm. Skulls found in ritual pits or painted caves might not just represent death, but transformation, an early form of spiritual continuity. These silent artifacts speak louder than any words. They tell of humans who no longer accepted existence as mere survival, but as part of something sacred. Fire, too, played a crucial role in this new consciousness. It was not only warmth or light, it was presence. To sit by the fire was to commune with life itself, to feel both protected and humbled by its power. The flickering flames could easily be seen as living beings, guardians against the dark, feeding on offerings of food, bones, or even whispered prayers. The fire became a symbol of spirit, a bridge between the tangible and the unseen. Over generations, these small gestures of reverence shaped communities. Fear of the unknown evolved into respect, and respect into worship. The spirits that once terrified now became companions, guides, or protectors. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It was a slow awakening, spread across thousands of years, fueled by the same human need that still drives us today: to make sense of our place in a vast, mysterious universe. The world of the first humans was unpredictable and wild, and nature's power often felt overwhelming. Imagine the crashing of thunder above the plains, the fierce winds that tore through primitive shelters, or the blinding light of a lightning bolt splitting a tree in two. For people who had no science, no explanations, these events were messages, signs that unseen entities ruled the world around them. The sun, the moon, the storms, and the rivers became alive with intention. Each could bless or curse, heal or destroy. The earliest form of worship may have started here, in these moments of helplessness. When lightning struck too close, a whisper of apology might have escaped trembling lips. When rain came, after a long drought, hands might have lifted in gratitude toward the sky. Slowly, this emotional exchange between human and nature grew into a system of belief, a world where every element carried spiritual weight. Trees were not just trees, they were homes of spirits. Mountains were sacred beings, and rivers held the essence of life itself. Even the hunt, vital for survival, became a spiritual act. Before spears were thrown, perhaps early hunters offered silent promises to the spirit of the animal they sought to kill. They may have believed that respect and ritual would keep nature in balance, ensuring that life could continue. Cave paintings, far from being mere decoration, may have served as spiritual rituals, acts of communication with the unseen world, asking for protection and success. These beliefs united groups, shaping early moral codes. Those who respected nature's spirits were seen as wise, while those who defied them risked misfortune or exile. Through faith, fear found purpose and chaos found meaning. It was not about control, but about coexistence, a fragile harmony between humanity and the mysterious forces that watched from beyond the firelight. As humans ventured further into understanding the unseen, rituals became more elaborate. They discovered that gestures, objects, and sounds could communicate with spirits in ways that mere words could not. A drumbeat echoed through the night, summoning unseen forces. A circle of stones marked a sacred spot where the veil between worlds felt thinner. A painted hand on a cave wall was not just art, it was a plea, a prayer, a declaration of connection to the forces surrounding them. These early rituals were as practical as they were spiritual. When a sickness spread through a group or a predator threatened their camp, rituals offered a sense of agency. Humans began to see themselves as participants in a larger cosmic drama. Each action, from the way they buried the dead to the way they decorated their tools, became a bridge to the mysterious world beyond. Even music and dance were imbued with power. They were not entertainment, but instruments of protection, calls for guidance, and expressions of gratitude. What is remarkable is the universality of these practices. Across continents and millennia, humans independently developed similar rituals, an indication that the need to reach beyond the tangible is deeply rooted in our species. These actions were early forms of negotiation with the unknown, attempts to coexist peacefully with spirits, to secure blessings and ward off danger. Think about it. Every carefully painted cave, every fire ritual, every symbolic object left behind tells a story of humans grappling with fear and hope simultaneously. Their courage lay not in conquering the unknown, but in acknowledging it and finding ways to live alongside it. What ritual or symbol would you create if you were standing in their place, looking up at the night sky, surrounded by the unseen? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's explore how you would communicate with the spirits of the first humans. The first humans were not only concerned with survival, they were also deeply aware of life's fragility. Death was everywhere, a constant shadow lurking behind every hunt or journey. Yet instead of succumbing to despair, they sought to understand and honor it. The treatment of the dead reveals a profound spiritual awakening. Burials were carefully arranged, sometimes with offerings of food, tools, or ornaments, suggesting that early humans believed the spirit continued after death. These acts were more than superstition. They were an early understanding of protection, not just for the living, but for the departed. This reverence for life and death may have been the first form of moral consciousness. By caring for the dead and respecting the spirits associated with them, humans learned empathy and social cohesion. Rules began to emerge, guiding behavior. Do not waste life, honor the spirits, protect your group. These early codes of conduct were inseparable from belief. They were intertwined with faith in forces beyond their comprehension. Art and symbolism played a vital role here as well. Cave paintings, carvings, and ritual objects were not merely decorative. They were communication. Each mark or symbol was a way to negotiate with the invisible, to ensure safety, and to maintain balance between the human and spiritual realms. Some researchers suggest that even the arrangement of objects in living spaces followed spiritual logic, reflecting the belief that harmony in life mirrored harmony with the spirits. Through these practices, humans learned that protection was not simply about physical barriers. It was about spiritual alignment. Fear of the unknown, once paralyzing, was transformed into deliberate action, fostering both survival and cohesion. Faith became a tool of resilience, teaching our ancestors to navigate a world filled with dangers, both seen and unseen. As human societies became more complex, certain individuals began to emerge as intermediaries between the living and the unseen. We call them shamans, though their roles varied widely across regions and time periods. These early spiritual leaders were not just guides, they were protectors, healers, and mediators. They observed the patterns of nature, interpreted dreams, and performed rituals that others believed could influence both the material and spiritual worlds. Their authority came from experience, intuition, and a perceived connection to forces beyond ordinary perception. Shamans often used altered states of consciousness to navigate the invisible. Drumming, chanting, fasting, or consuming natural substances were tools to reach these heightened states. In doing so, they became the human bridge to the spirits. The rest of the community relied on their insights to make sense of danger, illness, or unusual events. This reliance reinforced the importance of spiritual knowledge and established a framework in which faith was woven into daily life. Evidence of these roles survives in artifacts and symbols. Figurines, decorated skulls, and ceremonial masks suggest that certain individuals held specialized spiritual functions. These items were not mere decoration. They were instruments of authority and connection, carrying meaning and power understood by the group. The presence of such objects indicates a society increasingly aware of hierarchy, ritual, and the significance of spiritual intermediaries. Through these shamans and early leaders, humans discovered that spiritual protection was not only a personal matter, it was a collective responsibility. Communities grew stronger as they acknowledged unseen forces and trusted in those capable of negotiating with them. Faith had evolved from fear-driven instinct into a structured system of guidance, protection, and shared understanding, forming the backbone of early human societies. Life for early humans was not just survival, it was also celebration, expression, and communion with the world around them. Music, dance, and firelight became conduits for connection with the unseen. Around the crackling fire, groups moved in rhythm, their gestures echoing ancient patterns of communication with spirits. The sounds of drums or clapping hands were not mere entertainment. They were invitations, calls to forces that could protect, guide, or bless. Dance itself may have been a form of dialogue. By mimicking animals, storms, or celestial movements, humans expressed understanding, respect, and requests for favor. The human body became a sacred instrument, a channel for energy that words could not fully convey. Similarly, the fire, their constant companion, was more than warmth. Its flickering shadows created a living space for spirits, a liminal zone where the natural and supernatural met. In these moments, fear and awe coexisted with joy and creativity, teaching humans that spirituality was both practical and celebratory. This connection extended beyond the individual. Through shared rituals, music, and movement, communities reinforced social bonds and collective memory. Spirituality was not only about protection from unseen threats, but also about cohesion, identity, and belonging. These practices reveal that early faith was multifaceted: fear, hope, creativity, and social structure, all intertwined in ways that resonate even today. What kind of rhythm or movement would you use to connect with the spirits if you were there? How would you speak to forces you could not see? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your vision of ancient human spirituality. Across different regions of the ancient world, early humans developed surprisingly similar ways to communicate with the unseen, despite having no contact with one another. From caves in Europe to rock shelters in Africa and Australia, we find echoes of the same instinct: to respect, honor, and seek protection from forces beyond the tangible. Symbols carved into stone, ochre paintings on walls, and carefully arranged ritual objects all suggest a shared cognitive leap, the realization that life was intertwined with invisible powers. These similarities hint at a universal human tendency. The environment shaped their beliefs, but the psychological need to explain, influence, and protect themselves from unknown threats was constant. Some communities revered the sun and moon, others focused on spirits of animals or ancestral beings, yet the purpose remained consistent: to find balance, guidance, and security. Even without shared language, humans everywhere discovered that faith offered order in a chaotic world. Trade and movement of small groups may have spread certain symbolic ideas, but the essence of spirituality remained rooted in daily life. Rituals of hunting, healing, and death, though unique in execution, carried the same underlying logic. They were methods to communicate, to negotiate with the unseen, and to ensure that life continued in harmony with forces beyond human control. In this way, spirituality was both deeply personal and inherently communal, linking individual experience to the wider fabric of human society. This universality reminds us that long before organized religions, humans everywhere were explorers of the invisible, finding ways to protect themselves, understand the unknown, and celebrate the sacred in ordinary life. Fear shaped the evolution of faith more than comfort ever could. The first humans lived in a world filled with dangers: predators, disease, harsh climates, and unpredictable natural forces. Every shadow could conceal a threat, every sudden noise a warning. In response, humans turned fear into ritual, observation into practice, and instinct into belief. Faith was not abstract, it was a survival strategy. By acknowledging and appeasing unseen forces, they gained psychological security, improved cooperation within their groups, and increased their chances of survival. Stories, symbols, and rituals became tools to guide behavior and teach lessons. Caution, respect, and cooperation were encoded in myths and ceremonies. Fear was transformed into a structured understanding of the world, and in this transformation, humans began to build the first moral frameworks. The invisible became a mirror for social values. Those who ignored warnings risked disaster, while those who respected rituals and spirits gained protection and status. This intertwining of fear and faith demonstrates that belief was never simply about hope. It was about navigating life's uncertainties. Humans learned to predict danger, coordinate survival strategies, and maintain social cohesion through shared spiritual practices. In essence, spirituality was a bridge between instinct and intellect, fear and understanding, chaos and order. Even today, traces of these ancient patterns remain in our instincts, rituals, and sense of morality. What began as protection from spirits gradually became a compass for living in an unpredictable world, shaping humanity's journey across millennia. As humanity progressed, the spiritual practices of our ancestors laid the foundation for the faiths we recognize today. The early rituals, symbols, and beliefs were more than superstition. They were the first steps in humanity's attempt to understand the world, to seek protection, and to build meaning in an uncertain universe. The patterns of fear, respect, and gratitude that shaped their daily lives became enduring legacies, echoed in myths, religions, and moral codes across cultures and centuries. By observing nature, performing rituals, and relying on spiritual intermediaries, early humans created systems of belief that strengthened communities and guided decisions. Their art, dance, and music were not merely expressions, they were essential tools for survival, communication, and social cohesion. The invisible world shaped not only individual lives, but also the evolution of society itself. Even today, when we light a candle, tell a story, or look to the night sky for inspiration, we are participating in traditions that began millions of years ago, in caves illuminated by firelight. This journey reminds us that spirituality is not separate from humanity. It is a reflection of it. From fear to faith, from survival to celebration, humans have always sought connection with something greater. Every belief, ritual, or symbol carries echoes of those first steps toward understanding the unknown. If this journey through the earliest forms of faith fascinated you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and leave a comment saying, "I want to explore more ancient spirits." Also, check out our next video, The Spiritual Secrets of the Stone Age, to continue uncovering how humanity first reached beyond the visible.